Hirap sabihin na there was a moment of realization where I thought, oh, ang galing ko pala mag-isip. And sa tingin ko, really bad at like other sports, like any other sport that isn't tennis. I'm pretty bad at. So I haven't really had the time to venture.
Caught on cam, Alex Eala screams at Sarah Geronimo. Who do you think you are? The ugly truth behind the Billion-Peso catfight that ripped Philippine showbiz apart. Ladies and gentlemen, grab your popcorn and lock your doors, because the Philippines' two biggest sweethearts have just gone to war, and it was ugly. We are talking about a confrontation so raw, so loud, and so incredibly personal that it reportedly left an entire room of VIPs shaking in their designer heels. Picture this: the air is thick with expensive perfume and the clinking of champagne glasses. It's supposed to be a night of celebration. But suddenly, the music stops. The polite chatter dies. And then, a voice, usually known for its quiet, humble demeanor in post-match interviews, shreds the silence like a sonic boom. Who do you think you are to speak to me like that? That wasn't a scene from a telenovela. That was 19-year-old tennis sensation Alex Eala, veins popping, face flushed with a mixture of rage and tears, screaming at none other than the pop star royalty herself, Sarah Geronimo. The accusation? That Alex Eala is nothing but a fraud. That her trophies are bought. That her glory belongs to her parents' bank account, not her sweat. And the ultimate dagger? That she abandoned the Philippines to chase dollars and fame in the West. The tension in the room didn't just rise, it suffocated everyone present. Sarah Geronimo, known for her composure, reportedly didn't back down. She stood her ground, firing back with a coldness that froze the blood of onlookers. This wasn't just a disagreement. This was an explosion. Welcome back to Court Vision Plus, where we don't just watch the game, we see the drama behind the scoreline. Today, we are diving deep, deeper than anyone else dares to go, into the most shocking celebrity feud of the decade. We have the transcript. We have the eyewitness accounts. And we are going to tell you exactly how the golden girl of tennis and the queen of pop ended up in a screaming match that has divided the nation. Smash that like button if you're ready for the tea, and subscribe right now, because what I'm about to tell you will change how you see these two icons forever. Let's get into it. Let's set the scene. Sources, who, for obvious reasons, are terrified to go on record, tell us this all went down at an exclusive, high-profile gathering in Manila intended to honor global Filipino excellence. It was the kind of event where the elite rub shoulders, business tycoons, politicians, and the creme de la creme of the entertainment and sports worlds. Alex Eala, fresh off her grueling international tour, was there. She's the pride of the nation, the girl who left home at 13 to train at the Rafa Nadal Academy in Spain, the girl who brought home a junior Grand Slam. She looked tired but happy, wearing a rare smile, surrounded by well-wishers. Then, there was Sarah Geronimo. The icon. The woman who sang her way from humble beginnings to sold-out arenas. Sarah has always been the picture of the perfect Filipina daughter, obedient, hardworking, and deeply rooted in local culture. According to our insiders, the two were seated at the same VIP table. At first, it was cordial. But the atmosphere shifted when the conversation turned to sacrifice. Witnesses claim that Sarah, perhaps emboldened by the private setting, made a comment that landed like a slap in the face. She reportedly looked at Alex and said, with a chillingly sweet tone, "It must be nice to play pretend hero when your parents pay for the costume." The table went quiet. Alex, confused, reportedly asked her to clarify. That's when Sarah allegedly unloaded the clip. She didn't hold back. She told Alex that her struggle was manufactured. She pointed out that while real Filipino athletes are begging for government support, selling candies to buy shoes, or training in flooded courts, Alex was living the high life in Spain and the U.S., funded by her mother's corporate millions. Sarah allegedly said, "You talk about representing the flag, but you abandoned it the moment you could. You're not a Filipino athlete anymore, Alex. You're an American investment with a Filipino last name. Can you imagine hearing that? After spending your entire childhood alone in a foreign dormitory? After crying yourself to sleep because you missed your family, all for the sake of winning a medal for your country? Eala snapped. The "who do you think you are" scream wasn't just anger, it was pain. It was years of lonely nights, physical injuries, and the crushing pressure of a nation's expectation erupting all at once. Alex stood up, knocking her chair over, and that is when the shouting match began. Alex reportedly fired back, trembling, "You think money hits the ball? You think money runs the miles? I gave up my childhood for this country. I bleed on that court while you sit in air-conditioned studios judging me." But Sarah wasn't done. She stood up to meet Alex eye to eye and delivered the final blow. "You didn't give up anything. You bought a career. And now you look down on the people who actually struggle." Security had to intervene. The room was left in stunned silence as Alex was escorted out, reportedly in tears, while Sarah sat back down, unbothered, sipping her water. To understand why this exploded, we have to look at the massive class divide that these two women represent. This is the elephant in the room that nobody in Philippine media wants to talk about, but we will. On one side, you have Sarah Geronimo. Her story is the classic rags to riches. She is the people's champion. She joined singing contests not for fame, but to put food on the table. She dealt with the infamous Mommy Divine controlling her every move and finances for years. Sarah represents the masa, the struggle of the ordinary Filipino who climbs the ladder with nothing but talent and grit. To her fans, she is pure because she suffered in a way that is relatable to the poor. On the other side, you have Eala. Let's keep it real, Alex comes from generational wealth and power. Her mother, Eala, is the CFO of Globe Telecom, one of the biggest corporations in the country. Her uncle was the PBA commissioner. Alex didn't grow up hungry. When she showed talent, her family could afford to send her to the most expensive tennis academy in the world in Mallorca, Spain. This is the core of Sarah's alleged attack, privilege. There is a sentiment, often whispered in the dark corners of social media, that Eala has it easy. Critics say, of course she won. She has the best coaches money can buy. She has the best nutrition. She doesn't have to worry about where her next meal is coming from. When Sarah allegedly accused Alex of abandoning the Philippines, she was tapping into a very deep, very toxic Filipino insecurity, the idea that if you leave the country to succeed, you are a traitor. If you speak English with an accent, you are a traitor. If you don't suffer enough, you don't deserve the win. But is that fair? Let's look at the facts. Yes, Eala has financial backing. But does money swing the racket? Does money stop your legs from cramping after 4 hours in the burning Australian sun? When Eala left for Spain at 13, she didn't go on a vacation. She went to a boot camp. She left her friends, her comfort zone, and her home to live in a dormitory where she was the only Filipina. She had to learn a new language. She had to train 6 to 8 hours a day against giants who were physically bigger and stronger than her. Money can buy a plane ticket, but it cannot buy the mental fortitude to stand alone on center court at the U.S. Open, knowing that 110 million people are watching you, waiting for you to either make history or fail. What Sarah Geronimo allegedly failed to see, and what she mocked, is that there are different kinds of sacrifices. Sarah sacrificed her freedom to her parents. Alex sacrificed her childhood to the sport. Both are painful. Both are valid. But in that heated moment, Sarah supposedly invalidated Alex's entire existence, reducing her blood, sweat, and tears to a simple wire transfer. The reality is that the Philippine sports infrastructure has been chronically underfunded for decades. While other Southeast Asian nations pour billions into their sports programs, Filipino athletes have historically had to rely on private sponsors, family wealth, or sheer luck to compete at the international level. Eala's family made a choice that thousands of Filipino families wish they could make, to invest in their child's dream without waiting for a government that has repeatedly failed its athletes. Should she be punished for that? Should she apologize for having parents who believed in her enough to make that sacrifice? Consider this, when Manny Pacquiao was rising through the ranks of boxing, he too had to leave the Philippines to train in the United States under Freddie Roach. He needed better facilities, better sparring partners, and better medical support than what was available locally. Nobody called him a traitor. Nobody said his championships were bought. Why? Because he came from poverty, and his struggle fit the narrative we want to believe about Filipino success, that it must come from nothing, that it must hurt, that it must be drenched in the romantic notion of the underdog. But what about athletes like Alex, who come from means? Are we saying that wealthy Filipinos cannot represent the country with pride? Are we saying that unless you starve, you haven't earned your stripes? This kind of gatekeeping is not just unfair, it's destructive. It creates a culture where we celebrate suffering more than we celebrate excellence. It tells young Filipinos that if you have resources, you should feel guilty about using them to chase your dreams. And let's talk about the abandoning the Philippines narrative for a moment, because this is where things get really twisted. Alex Eala didn't abandon anything. She made a strategic decision that every serious athlete in a developing nation has to make: train where the competition is fiercest, where the facilities are world-class, where you can actually reach your potential. Tennis is a global sport. You cannot become a Grand Slam champion by playing in local tournaments. You need to face the best, and the best are not in Manila. They are in Melbourne, New York, Paris, and London. Every time Alex steps onto a court, she does so with the Philippine flag on her shirt and in her heart. When she won the U.S. Open girls singles title in 2022, becoming the first Filipino to ever win a Grand Slam singles title at any level, she didn't celebrate in English. She spoke in Tagalog. She thanked the Filipino people. She cried for the country. To stand there and accuse her of being un-Filipino, of being a sellout, of being an American investment with a Filipino last name is not just cruel, it's factually wrong. This touches on a broader issue that haunts the Filipino diaspora, the toxic notion that leaving the Philippines somehow makes you less Filipino. There are millions of overseas Filipino workers scattered across the globe, sending money back home, supporting entire families, literally keeping the Philippine economy afloat with their remittances. These are nurses in New York, engineers in Dubai, domestic helpers in Hong Kong. They sacrifice years away from their children, missing birthdays and graduations, all to give their families a better life. Are they traitors? Of course not. They are heroes. So why is Alex Eala, who is doing essentially the same thing, working abroad to bring glory and inspiration back home, being held to a different standard? The answer is uncomfortable: class resentment. Because Alex didn't have to leave out of desperation. She left out of ambition. And somehow, in the Filipino psyche, ambition without suffering feels like cheating. It feels unearned. This is the poison of colonial mentality mixed with crab mentality, creating a toxic cocktail that punishes success instead of celebrating it. Since news of this confrontation leaked, the internet has turned into a battlefield. It's World War III on Twitter and Facebook. The hashtags Team Sarah and Team Alex are trending, and the comments are vicious. Sarah's loyal army, the popsters, are defending their queen aggressively. They are flooding forums saying, "Sarah just said what everyone was thinking." They argue that Alex Eala is out of touch. They are bringing up videos of Alex speaking English, criticizing her for not sounding Filipino enough. They claim that Sarah was just protecting the integrity of the real Filipino struggle. They are saying, why should we worship a rich girl who lives in America? Sarah stayed here. Sarah pays taxes here. Sarah is the real patriot. On the flip side, the sports community is rallying behind Alex with fury. They are calling Sarah bitter, insecure, and ignorant. They point out that in sports, you have to go abroad to compete with the best. You can't become a world number one by staying in Manila playing against the same 5 people. One viral comment read, "Sarah Geronimo is just jealous because Alex Eala is achieving global recognition without having to be a puppet to a studio or a parent. Alex is free. Sarah is just projecting her own trauma." That one cuts deep, and it points to something that cannot be ignored in this story. Sarah Geronimo's life has been anything but easy, despite her success. For years, she was under the iron grip of her mother, Mommy Divine, who controlled her finances, her career choices, and even her personal relationships. When Sarah finally married Matteo Guidicelli in 2020, it was done in secret because she knew her mother would not approve. The fallout was public and brutal. Sarah has spent most of her adult life fighting for autonomy that most people take for granted. So when she sees Eala, a teenager who seemingly has the world at her feet, training where she wants, speaking how she wants, living how she wants, maybe that stings. Maybe it reminds Sarah of everything she didn't have at that age. This is not to excuse Sarah's alleged outburst, but to understand it. Hurt people hurt people. And sometimes, when we see others living the freedom we were denied, it triggers something dark inside us. Instead of celebrating their freedom, we resent it. We want them to suffer like we did, because misery loves company, and validation through shared pain is a drug this culture is hooked on. But here's the tragedy: these two women should be allies. They should be standing together as examples of Filipino excellence in their respective fields. Sarah has broken barriers in the entertainment industry, proving that a girl from the provinces can become a megastar without losing her soul. Alex is breaking barriers in the sports world, proving that a Filipina can compete with and beat the best tennis players on the planet. They are both warriors. They are both champions. They are both carrying the weight of a nation's expectations on their shoulders. Instead, the toxic culture of comparison, the scarcity mindset that says there can only be one queen, and the crab mentality that pulls down anyone who dares to rise have pitted them against each other in a room full of people who were just waiting for them to fall. And the saddest part? The real winners in this fight are the spectators who get to watch two powerful women tear each other apart while they sit back and judge. The psychological toll of this kind of public scrutiny cannot be understated. Eala is still a teenager. Her brain is still developing. She is navigating the pressures of professional sports, the loneliness of living abroad, the physical pain of injuries, and now, the emotional devastation of being publicly humiliated by someone she probably looked up to. The question, "Who do you think you are?" was not just directed at Sarah. It was a question Alex was asking the universe, asking herself, asking everyone who has ever doubted her. Why did Alex lose control? Why did she scream? Psychologists often say that our biggest explosions happen when someone attacks our deepest insecurity. For Alex, her deepest insecurity is likely the imposter syndrome of her privilege. She knows she is lucky. She knows she has resources others don't. She has likely worked twice as hard just to prove that she isn't just a rich kid. So when an icon like Sarah Geronimo, someone Alex probably grew up listening to, pokes that exact wound in public, it broke her. It wasn't just an insult, it was a confirmation of her worst fear, that no matter how many matches she wins, to some people, she will always just be a spoiled brat. And what about Sarah? Why would she attack a teenager? Perhaps it's the pressure of the spotlight. Sarah has been the good girl for decades. The pressure to maintain that image, to never slip, to always be gracious and humble and perfect, is suffocating. Maybe seeing a young woman like Alex, who seems to have it all, freedom, money, and global fame, triggered something in her. Maybe it wasn't hate. Maybe it was envy. Envy of the freedom Alex has to define her own destiny, a freedom Sarah had to fight a war with her own mother to get in her 30s. There's also the generational divide at play here. Sarah represents the old guard, the traditional Filipino values of staying close to home, suffering in silence, and earning your place through hardship. Alex represents the new generation, the global Filipinos who are unapologetic about their ambition, who refuse to be limited by geography or outdated notions of loyalty. This clash was inevitable. It's happening in families across the Philippines every day, the older generation accusing the younger of being entitled, and the younger generation accusing the older of being stuck in the past. But beyond the personal drama, this incident has sparked a much-needed conversation about how we treat our heroes. Why do we require our champions to suffer before we applaud them? Why do we measure worthiness by pain instead of by achievement? And why, when a young Filipina conquers the world, is our first instinct to ask who paid for her ticket, rather than celebrating her destination? This is not just about Alex and Sarah. This is about a culture that is so afraid of celebrating success that it finds reasons to diminish it. It's about a society that has been so beaten down by colonialism, poverty, and corruption that it has internalized the belief that Filipinos are not supposed to win, and when they do, there must be a catch. There must be a scandal. There must be a reason to tear them down. What's happening right now on social media is a reflection of that sickness. Instead of using this moment to examine our own biases, to question why we are so quick to judge, we are choosing sides and throwing stones. We are feeding the machine that thrives on division and drama. We are proving that we would rather watch our icons destroy each other than build each other up. As of this morning, neither camp has released an official statement. Silence is usually the loudest confirmation in showbiz. Alex Eala has been spotted at the airport, reportedly flying back to the U.S. earlier than scheduled, wearing dark sunglasses and refusing to speak to the press. Sarah Geronimo has gone dark on social media. But the damage is done. The glass has been shattered. The illusion of unity among our icons is broken. Industry insiders are whispering about potential fallout. Will brands that sponsor both women be forced to choose sides? Will this affect Alex's endorsement deals in the Philippines, where public opinion can make or break a career overnight? Will Sarah face backlash for attacking a teenager, or will her loyal fan base shield her from criticism? These are the questions being asked behind closed doors, and the answers will shape both of their careers moving forward. There's also the question of reconciliation. Can these two women ever come back from this? In the age of social media, where every word is screenshotted and every moment is recorded, forgiveness is a luxury that few can afford. The internet does not forget. The memes have already started. The think pieces are being written. This moment will follow both of them for the rest of their lives. But perhaps there is a lesson here, buried beneath the rubble of this public explosion. Perhaps this is the wake-up call we need to examine how we treat success, how we define patriotism, and how we support our own. Alex Eala asked, "Who do you think you are?" Maybe that's a question we all need to answer. Are we fans who support our own? Or are we judges waiting to tear them down? We want to hear from you. Whose side are you on? Are you Team Sarah, believing that Alex needs to check her privilege and that her success is manufactured by money? Or are you Team Alex, believing that she is a national hero who is being unfairly bullied for her background and that Sarah crossed the line? Let's get a debate going in the comments section. I want to see your thoughts. Keep it fiery, but keep it respectful. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the most explosive celebrity feud of the year, do not forget to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. Share this video with your friends so they can get the tea too. And most importantly, subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update from Court Vision Plus. We are tracking this story 24/7, and the moment we get a response from either camp, you will be the first to know. Until next time, keep your eyes on the court and your ears on the ground. This is Court Vision Plus, signing off.
Hi everybody, it's Alex Eala here. I just wanted to thank you all so much for the support. The atmosphere these past few days have been completely amazing.